Good morning. I hope your Wednesday is off to a good start. Mine is so far, and you've got yourself a good cup of coffee with you. Um, so I'm going to continue talking about the Bible. A couple of weeks ago, I gave 5 reasons why Christians really should read and study the Old Testament. And I'm going to go back to that this time and give you my 5 favorite Old Testament passages. My 5 favorite Old Testament passages. Years ago, probably 25 years ago, maybe even farther back than that, I made a list of my favorite 50 passages from the Bible. And I have no idea where that went to. That's long since lost. But I've just in the last couple of days came up with my favorite 5 Old Testament passages. Now these are just favorites of mine. They're not necessarily the 5 most important, and they're different things. But these are the ones that resonate most with me personally. I'll give you the 5, and then for each of the 5, give you just a little bit of comment on them, why they're important to me. And next week, my 5 favorite New Testament passages. All right, so my 5 favorite Old Testament passages, and these are in no particular order. First one, 1 Kings 19, 1 through 8. 1 Kings 19, 1 through 8. This is about the prophet Elijah. And right in the passage immediately preceding this, Elijah has called down fire from heaven and has slaughtered several hundred pagan false prophets. He has called down fire from heaven. Elijah was a bad dude. Yet, the evil queen Jezebel, she threatened him, and she sent a messenger to him and said, I will have your head on a platter by this time tomorrow. And Elijah, for whatever reason, he ran. He ran from Jezreel in the northern kingdom to Beersheba, the very southern end of the southern kingdom, and didn't stop there. He kept right on going into the wilderness. And in this passage, we find Elijah falling out, passing out, sleeping underneath a bush. And the angel of the Lord taps him, wakes him up. And Elijah gets up, and there is bread, bacon, and hot stones, and a jar of water. He eats and he drinks and goes back to sleep. And then the same thing happened. The angel of the Lord tells Elijah, get up and eat, for the journey is too great for you, just as he had said before that. And Elijah gets up and he eats and he drinks, and he keeps on going for 40 days to get to Mount Horeb, where he went into the same cave that Moses had been in when he encountered the Lord on the top of the same mountain hundreds of years before. This is the first one, 1 Kings 19, 1 through 8. We all enjoy the Lord not being in the earthquake, and the Lord wasn't in the fire, the Lord wasn't in the wind, and after the wind, the still small voice. We all love that. But to me, this journey, God looking after Elijah on this journey, is beautiful. I love it. Okay, next one. Ezekiel 1. Now, Ezekiel had some really strange visions. He had some strange visions. He is called by God to do some pretty weird things. Just read some of Ezekiel. So in Ezekiel 1, the prophet sees wheels in the sky. He sees ginormous wheels in the sky, and the rims of the wheels are full of eyes all the way around. And then he sees the four living creatures, which elsewhere in the Bible are identified as cherubim. And our UFO enthusiasts want to say that Ezekiel was seeing, well, alien spacecraft. And they would say that Ezekiel is just seeing alien spacecraft, that this is the first recorded instance of alien visitation. I don't think so. I don't think so. In reality, this has nothing to do with little green men from planet Zorkon or whatever. It has nothing to do with that. So what does it have to do with? Ezekiel sets the stage. At the very beginning of the chapter, he says he is with the exiles by the Kebar River. And the Kebar River, or canal as it may be translated, is that was a river maybe 30, 40 miles north of Babylon. He's with the exiles. He is a prophet of the exile. Most everybody had been deported forcibly out of Jerusalem and its environs by the Babylonians. And they are deposited in Babylon. And so Ezekiel is with a group of these exiles a few miles north of Babylon when he has this vision of the wheels in the sky and the cherubim. And it is a reminder that even though you are hundreds and hundreds of miles from your homeland, I'm still there. And it's like God putting on this great cosmic light show for Ezekiel. Ezekiel, I'm here. Elsewhere in his book, in his prophetic book, Ezekiel has a vision of the glory of the Lord leaving the temple. And this sort of fits with that. The glory of God has left the temple. God has checked out. But shows up over here in Babylon. This powerful reminder to Ezekiel, I'm with you. Even though you are so far from home, so far from your beloved city of Jerusalem, I'm right here with you. And the next one, Genesis 15. Genesis 15. This is the Lord establishing a covenant with Abram at dusk. As the sun is going down, the Lord speaks to Abram and tells him to lay out a heifer, a goat, a ram, a turtle dove, and a pigeon. So Abram, later we'll know him as Abraham, cuts the heifer in half, the goat in half, and the ram in half. And sets half year, half year, half year, half year. Sets the halves apart. Doesn't cut the birds in half. And in the dark of night, God renewed his covenant with Abram. Literally in Hebrew, covenants are said to be cut. Normally, when you read the Old Testament, when it says such and such or so and so made a covenant with somebody else, the actual verb there that's used is cut, which has all sorts of powerful implications. You cut a covenant, which implies that there's blood that's shed. You can make all sorts of rich allusions with that. And so Abram falls into a deep sleep in a dreadfully dark night. And on this dreadfully dark night, he sees a torch and a fire pot pass back and forth between the pieces of meat. Okay, well, preacher, what in the world does that mean? If you, this is where you have to sort of do a little looking around at other places in the Old Testament. If you look at a passage, a rather obscure passage in Jeremiah 34, you can see that what is implied here is God is saying to Abram, if I, the Lord your God, don't fulfill this covenant with you, I'm calling down curses upon myself. For the Lord has promised to deliver Abram to the land. He's promising to give Abram the land, and if I don't do that, God says, I'm calling down curses upon myself. That is essentially what is going on here. Powerful stuff. I've preached that passage before, and I love it. Okay, so the first one was 1 Kings 19, 1 through 8. Then Ezekiel 1. Then Genesis 15. When I get done, preacher's orders, take a few minutes and read each of these. And the next one is actually going to be two that are so closely related that I'm going to count them as one. Okay. These are two that are very closely related. So I sort of count them as one. Because it's so very short, I'll read these. Isaiah 1:17. Cease to do evil, learn to do good, seek justice, correct oppression, bring justice to the fatherless, plead the widow's cause. Cease to do evil, learn to do good. Seek justice, correct oppression, bring justice to the fatherless. I've also seen that rendered as defend the fatherless and plead the widow's cause. And we can pair that with Amos 5, 14 and 15. Seek good and not evil, that you may live, and so the Lord, the God of hosts, will be with you, as you have said. Hate evil and love good, and establish justice in the gate. Hate evil and love good, and establish justice in the gate. Cease to do evil, learn to do good. Seek justice, correct oppression, defend the fatherless, plead the widow's cause. Hate evil, love good, establish justice in the gate. And there are numerous other passages related to very similar to these in the prophets, and that all have a similar theme. This idea of justice. This idea of justice. God's people, be they the faithful Israel way back then, or the church now, God's people are intended to be different. We are intended to be different. We're not supposed to be like everybody else. We are expected to seek justice. The Old Testament, the ancient Hebrew word for justice is mishpat. And mishpat is the sort of the stock definition implies judicial justice, as in court of law type justice. But it goes beyond that. So it's not simply a judicial decree kind of justice, but it also has a strong element of righteousness. It's this idea of righteousness and what is just and what is fair. So that's what's implied here. Seek justice. We as believers, God's people, be they believers now or Israel, faithful Israelites way back when, are supposed to be seeking justice. What is most fair and what is just for everybody concerned. Stop the evil that you're doing and learn to do good. Stop the evil that you're doing and learn to do good, which is another way of saying repent. Simply another way of saying what this good New Testament word that we know, which is repent. Seek justice, correct oppression, bring justice to the fatherless, or defend the fatherless, plead the widow's cause. In other words, for those people, what that means in that culture way back then, orphans had no protector. Orphans had no protector. Widows were easily forgotten and easily stepped on in society. And so the command is from God, and the expectation is that a real Israelite, someone who is faithful, isn't going to be stepping on the orphans or the widows. Rather, the real Israelite, the faithful one, is going to be standing up for those who cannot defend themselves, who can't look after themselves. Establish justice in the gate. It was the custom in ancient Israel and the ancient world for the elders of a town to sit in the town gate and sort of establish and settle disputes. Sort of an informal court. Establish justice in the gate. When you gather in the city gates to settle disputes, establish justice there. What is right? What is just for everybody concerned? And you really get it in Amos. You cannot expect to receive God's blessing if you can't do that. If you can't seek justice and correct oppression, if you can't cease to do evil and learn to do good, if you can't establish justice in the gate, you cannot expect to be blessed as a people of God. And then my last one, and this is a very personal one. Of course, all of these are personal. Like I said, they're not necessarily the 5 most important passages in the Old Testament. They're ones that have been important to me personally. And the last one is the most personal. So to recap, 1 Kings 19, 1 through 8. Ezekiel 1, Ezekiel saw the wheels. Genesis 15. Isaiah 1:17 paired off with Amos 5:14 and 15. Then my last one is Isaiah 40:30 and 31. And in those days even youth shall fail, and the young men shall utterly fall. But those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not grow weary. They shall walk and not faint. And in those days even the youth shall fail, and the young men shall utterly fall. But those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not grow weary. They shall walk and not faint. like I said, that's a personal one for me. I've run now 9 marathons and maybe 10 half marathons. I'm not certain on that. My memory's a little fuzzy. And more shorter races than I can count. And this last verse or two of Isaiah 40 has always been sort of almost a mantra for me. So at the end of a hard run, or at any point during a run where I'm trying to get my head right, if I feel myself slacking, I need to get my head right, I go back to Isaiah 40. Isaiah 40:31. And in those days even the youth shall fail, and the young men shall utterly fall. But those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not grow weary. They shall walk and not faint. Now that's not that's not going to pass muster in a seminary exegesis class. Because Isaiah isn't writing about long distance runners. But that's how I appropriate it. That's how I use it. Even the youngest and the strongest can fall out. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. I know intellectually that Isaiah is not writing about runners. I know that. But that's how I have used it. And so at the end of a run, when I'm trying to hang in there for the last couple of miles, and then over and over again in my head, over and over again in my head, just this simple phrase: and in those days even the youth shall fail, and the young men shall utterly fall. But those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not grow weary. They shall walk and not faint. So those are my 5 favorite Old Testament passages. Like I said, they're not necessarily the most important. So I'll give them to you again so you can go back and look at them. 1 Kings 19, 1 through 8. Ezekiel 1. Genesis 15. Isaiah 1:17 paired off with Amos 5:14 and 15. And then Isaiah 40:31. Look those up sometime. And next week, my 5 favorite passages from the New Testament. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, and in the comments, if there are passages from the Old Testament that are particularly meaningful for you, list them there. Have a great day.